Now with this video that we're going to be making, we're looking at the idea of how to write a blog post. Now writing blog posts really is probably how you're going to improve the most as a writer this year, because it is not as structured as a formal writing, the paragraph summary that you have done recently. It is definitely much less structured, as I said, and it doesn't have a formal way to go. So this obviously right here, this is in Notebook, not on the blog post, but it's words and writing. What I'm going to be thinking of now, here you can write about anything. You can write about how all of the primary sources affected you, or you could choose one in particular. For me, of course, I'm going to go with my favorite, with Jonathan Edwards, Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God. With this, what I'm going to think about, and this is something that really ultimately is going to depend on a lot about how you are affected by this. And it might not even be just this writing. What I'm going to start with, this paragraph, I'm going to say here, actually I'll make the font 24. I'll make it a little smaller, but not too small so you can still see it. I will say, when I first heard of Jonathan sermon titled Sinners in the... Oops. I didn't even think of that. The indenting. Whoops. So you can see I'm even going back before I've even started this. So I'm going to go ahead and write a couple more sentences to this. So you can see I wrote a few sentences, some of my own reflections. Now this was when I had read it, or I hadn't read it, but I'd heard of it a while ago. So you can see this is my own sort of personal reaction, my own first. Now, if you notice here too, it's not even that I hadn't even read it yet. This is just when I'd first heard about it. So then I'm going to go on to the next paragraph and talk about some of the ways that this has affected me, and also how much I've thought about things related to it in my life. So you can see I added this second paragraph to connect with really what I first thought when I read it. And you can see that this first sentence relates to where I was sort of, this is for my first reaction, but then I say that this is where I was when I had that first reaction. Then I go into how I've learned some from it. So this is why I'm kind of going from this pattern. And that's one of the things to keep in mind with writing, is you always have to think about where you are, think about a sentence, and then where you're going. And good sentence flow is when one sentence connects to the next one. And you want to kind of move generally sort of in one direction. It's not a good idea to be flipping your thoughts back and forth. So right here, this is where, and right now that I've written some personal reflections, now I'm going to go on and move to sort of my actual reaction upon reading it. Good. So here, as you can see, that I've reflected a little bit, and I've connected, right here now, where I've had the chance to read it, and especially I found some sections to actually mention and reference here, and I went on connected some of these thoughts with what I had thought before, and so this right here, you can see it's not a formal thing, but I'm sort of going from one of my ideas to another to another. Your blog might look very different from this, and it probably should, because it's how you reflect on it and how it makes a difference to you. So then I ended it with this sort of a concluding paragraph. Sort of in the end, this is not, this ultimately, although it might seem like it, is not a sermon about punishment, but really ultimately about love and God's love for us. So this is my own personal, my way of actually rounding it out and coming to a conclusion about what the sermon is ultimately about. Like I said before, your post will be most likely be very different from this, but you have to really think about how you react to and your own thoughts about it, your own thoughts about the sermon, and or whichever source you read, or you might even write about all of them and how they all of them affected you. So with this, like I said, this is a more informal writing, and I just wanted to demonstrate to you how I would go through the process.